my darlings, I'm Sophie Darling, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're reacting to episode 12 of series 1 of Vinland Saga. I nearly tripped over myself there. I couldn't remember where we were at in terms of this series, but we got to see Canute's face for the first time. We're hopefully going to learn more about Canute because, again, Canute's been this central figure for the last couple of episodes, but we really don't know anything about them. They haven't spoken. So much mystery around who Canute is as a person, but hopefully we'll learn a bit more. And then Thorkill and his little budding friendship with Thorfinn, he's so excited to see him again and is like, we'll meet again. We both have the same destination. And the fact that he just allows him to have Canute and is like, yeah, it's fine. You win this time is just iconic. I love Thorkill. I hope he doesn't die because I'll be really sad. He's such an entertaining character. He's like a big Labrador puppy. I just think he's iconic. And I have grown to really like Askeladd as well. There's something about him. I just think he's very smart, very clever. And I like the way that he's so strategically focused. He's not just guns blazing, let's fight to the death because Valhalla. He's very clever in how he plans things out because he values his life. It's sort of the big difference between him and some of the other Vikings that we see is that, yeah, Valhalla is this thing to be praised and aspire to, but why aspire to die before your time? I think in his mind, he'd rather live a long life with all the riches in the world than to achieve Valhalla. So that strategic mindset is what helps him live longer than those that are just rash and rush into the heat of the battle because they think there's glory to be had in the afterlife. And he's just like, I don't see the point, which is just an interesting contrast, much like seeing the conflict between the Norse gods and Christianity and the rise in Christianity and the conflict that kind of emerges between those that have converted and those that haven't, but also the way in which people are kind of torn between these two worlds, between their Norse gods and between this rise in this religion that wasn't their religion, but they're feeling compelled to join, especially because Canute is the Prince of Denmark and he has converted to Christianity. So there must be some pressure then on other inhabitants of Denmark to also convert, but it's just interesting to see that like push and pull between religion and that divide between worlds of feeling conflicted by moving to a new religion and giving up your old religion, but also this conflict in beliefs where they're almost mocking, well, not almost, they are mocking. They're mocking Canute and Canute's belief system by saying, well, your god is a tiny twig that couldn't beat anybody compared to Thor, our god, that would beat him with no issue because they don't believe in Jesus and Jesus wasn't a warrior. Jesus sacrificed himself to cleanse the world of sin. So he didn't need to be a strong buff warrior like Thor is depicted because that's not what Jesus's message was. It's compassion, forgiveness, and acceptance of those around us, even if they are different from ourselves. So it's that conflict in imagery and the conflict in mentality because obviously Norse culture and religion is very tied in this idea of battle and earning glory through heroic deeds and fighting because again you get Valhalla. Valhalla is only granted to the most heroic and strongest of warriors. And then you have Christianity, which is less about, not to say that Christianity hasn't been used to justify brutality and war, aka the Crusades, but essentially that's not the message that is really preached by Christianity, or at least by the New Testament. It is mainly about Jesus dying for our sins and forgiving ourselves. You could argue that the Old Testament is very dark and heavy on the punishment of anyone that doesn't believe in Christianity. And then also, yeah, there's the end times that is talked about and what's going to happen when the world finally is punished for all its sin because we haven't learned our lesson. So there is that, but I think it's just showing the difference in mentality. Definitely shaping up to be a very interesting series. But without further ado, we're going to get into episode 12. Sorry, I forgot for a moment. Episode 12. That's a teeny tiny fish. Itty bitty. Doesn't have any fish for you. He just has a little teeny one.
魚もそろそろ冬ごもりの時期でしょう。
釣れずとも構わんのですよ。
It's
本業
relaxing.
は私ですからな。私の国の鉛に似ている。全員を運ぶには何日かかるやら。
いや、にはこの手紙だけです。
これを対岸のどなたへ？
元老のどなたかへ大至急アシュラットからとお伝えいただきたい。
Son of Lydia. Interesting that he goes by his mother's name, but she must have authority for him to go by his mother's name rather than his father's.
トルケルに追いつかれてしまうぞ。
耳が仕事をしているときは物音を立てない。
The ear.
そのとんがり頭に息をさせるな。
It's the way his eyes roll into the back of his head as he's like focusing.
昨日より近づいている。価値と馬の行軍を数は
Insane.
後ろにぴったりつけてるぜ。歩いて一日の距離だ。
つい昨日は2日の距離だっつってたじゃねえ
They're
か。
moving fast.
俺の耳を疑うのか。
よほどの強行軍なんだろうぜ。
They're on a
この分
mission.
だと数日のうちに追いつかれるな。
馬だ。丘の上、2機。
どうする気だ。迎撃するなら今のうちに陣を張らねば。
They're just gonna keep moving.
金やしませんって。
Try and keep a distance. Maybe Thorfinn will go ahead with Canute.
これまでは逃げ回りましょうや。は？援軍？
So is that what the letter is
敵地
to the elders? Is
アシェラットが言うんだ
requesting
ぜ。
reinforcements?
あいつがその手の嘘を言ったことあるか？
俺ら100人だけでやるっつってたよな、アシュラット。
てかだりよもう船に乗りて
あ
So much walking. Ship would make things easier. It really would. Faster too.
なんだ、何か用か。
みんな動揺してるぜ。
I was about to say, I was like, Beyond looks really serious.
あんたここ数日ちょっと変だぜ。何考えてる？
He's a man on a mission. He's got a bigger plan.
王子の顔を見てからだ。そうだろ？
そいつがどんなやつなのか、大物か小物か、利口かバカか、パッと面見ただけで分かっちまうのさ。
There's something about Canute's face.
王子の面見てな、分かっちまったんだ。王者の面じゃねえってな。
ああ、まあ女みてえな面だな。
I don't think that's what he's getting at.
あれまだガキじゃねえか。
I think he's saying that he's potentially
まだ
weak-willed.
若い。これからだ。
Future still awaits. He has time to learn and grow, but yeah, he's still young. He's not really acting like a king, but he is still a child, so there's chance for him to improve. Could just be quite literally that he doesn't think he has the ability to rule because he allows everyone to kind of dictate everything for him. He doesn't quite make the choice himself or dictate anything for himself.
やべえぞ、アシュラット。すぐそこまで来てる。
Oh god.
分かってる。
Are they actually behind them, or is this all part of Askeladd's plan to make them move faster? Maybe they are actually behind them, but... Have they gone in a circle? No. It's just we've seen similar pillars. That's why I was like, wait, hold up a second. It's just further ruins.
霧の魔物じゃねえだろうな。
Maybe two's all they need.
軍団長自らおいでくださるとは恐縮です。
久しいな、アシュラット。
Oh, his face. Oh, there's more, isn't there? How many more? Oh, damn. It's one way to make distance.
ありゃノルドの船じゃねえよ。流灯がなかった。なんかボテッとした船
He says son of Lydia, so like, could it be where his mom is from? Maybe his mom isn't Viking related, I don't know.
川向こうの住人はイングランドからデンマークに寝返ったってことっすか？
バカ、お前物を知らねえな。寝返るも何もこの川の向こうはそもそもイングランドじゃねえんだぜ。ウェールズってんだ。
Is Askeladd Welsh? Like, is his mum Welsh, maybe? Because he used his mother's name, so there's significance to the use of the mother's name.
全地域を統一するほどの国家が育つことはなく、多数の小王国が割拠する状態が数百年続いていた。アシェラッドの救援要請に応じたのは、そんな小王国の一つだった。
今頃トルケルメは川の向こうではがみしておるだろうて。あとはこのまま回路を行けばゲインズバラへ帰れるというわけだ。
いえ、こっからはまた陸路です。この国にとって軍船3隻や貴重な戦力なんです。トルケルを巻くのに協力してくれただけでもよしとしなきゃ。
Exactly. They didn't
な
have
ら
to.
2隻でよい。詰めれば100人くらい。
ダメです。わがまま言う子は置いていきますよ。
ウェールズの地を歩けというのか。バカ
Yeah,
な。
that's exactly what he's
この
telling
地
you
の
to
民は
do.
我々を恨んでる。
はやぶさ、あんなに低く。ラグナル、捕まえてくれ。
殿下、今大事な話を。
Is he okay?
だからイングランドを北上するよりはマシですよ。少なくともこの国は私の味方です。
Why are they an ally to you, Askeladd?
このものをクヌート殿下にお付けします。
勝手に決めんじゃねえよ。
なりは小さいが腕は立ちます。
Not fucking
殿下とは
priest.
年も同じなので気が合うでしょう。ご挨拶しろ、ドルフィン。
I think Forfin's gonna be like, you're a pompous prick. And he's nervous.
見返りはあるんだろうな。
わかったわかった。
They're the
現状
same
につい
age,
たら相
but
手してやる。
Forfin's rough life has hardened him, and Canute's probably known very little hardship as a royal.
ほう、少し剣があるが良いかもな。
軍団
He
長、
does have a good
それは
face.
私の部下で
That's
す。
why Askeladd
クヌー
can
ト
read
殿下は
faces.
そちらにおわします。
目に力がない。本当に時代のイングランドを
I
知れる
said
もの
the
か。
same
貴
thing.
様、失礼であろう。
Weak-willed.
我らがデンの王子の逃避行に協力する理由は一つ。ウェールズへの不可侵条約の締結だ。すべては気候次第。王子よ、誓われよ。イングランドの王となった暁には、決して
He doesn't want to be the king, does he? What the fuck? Like a small child.
はい、お任せください。
Has he ever done anything for
殿下は
himself?
こう申しておられる。そなたらが船3隻を提供するならば。
私は王子本人に聞いているのだ。
何？
Not you. The prince needs to act for himself.
それまでに文書を用意しておく。
なんじゃあの高慢ちは。こちらの足元を見よってからに。殿
I
下と対等に
mean,
口が聞
I
ける
think
とでも
you're
思う
trying to
て
take
るのか。
advantage of him by asking for free warships. Is Canute all there though? Because he's like, catch the hawk for me. The hawk was like nowhere near catchable.
おい神父さんよ、あんた王宮にいたんだよな。王の家にはどんなものがあったね。
女性の奴隷は結構いましたね。
いましたねってそんなあっさり。
He's a
あん
priest.
た女に興味ないのか。
いやいや、私の求めているものに比べれば金銀も美女もつまらないものだというこ
Alcohol. Is that what he seeks?
と。愛です。
Oh.
愛？
はい。
俺知ってる。キリスト教徒がよく言う呪文かなんかだよ。
What a sad life that you've never known
銀で言う
love.
と何ポンドのものだ。
銀では測れません。銀に価値を与えるのも愛だからです。愛なくしては金も銀も美女もすべて無価値だ。
They're too uncultured to understand. They want material gain. Can't measure what's infinite. Love is infinite.
てくれよ、今の話。もう
あー
少し聞きたいんだ。
Like, I want to hear your wisdom.
ご尽力、痛み入ります。
お前たちのためではない。利害の一致だ。お前たちデン人が黙らせてくれるならば。
They just want to be
我々に都
independent.
合がいい。
王子殿下はきっとさように約束されましょ
Press X to doubt.
う。あとはまあ 若さに期待しています。
Bors would have been a
惚れ
good
た
king.
男ほど思い通りにはならんもんです。案外あのくらいの器の方がちょうどいいのかもしれません。
伝の王には従わぬぞ。
They want to be free to follow their own
未だ伝説
ruler.
を信じておいでですか。アルトリウス公が西の彼方のアバロンから戻られ、古のブリタニアを復興なさるという伝説を。
Artorias? Are they talking about Arthur? Legend that Artorias will return from Avalon. Is that not Arthur? Oh, okay. I just had to look it up. The Roman commander Lucian Artorias Castus is considered a possible historical basis for the legend of King Arthur. His name is found in the gens Artoria, and he has been suggested as a historical basis for the legendary King Arthur, legendary figure of British folklore. While the historical Arthur is debated, the name Artorias is a possible link to a real individual. Yeah, I was wondering, because I was like, the Sword in the Stone and Avalon is the King Arthur legend, so that's why I was like, wait, what? But I've never heard it as Artorias. That's why the only things that stood out to me was like the Sword and Stone and Avalon. But now that I've had to quickly look it up to be like Artorias, Legend of Arthur, there's a link between the two. So Artorias is the Latin name for Arthur. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, but essentially Arthur was this benevolent, kind, and just ruler that was grievously wounded because he was betrayed, hence why he was thinking about Thors before mentioning him, because Thors was also grievously betrayed, and Arthur went to Avalon to recover, and it was prophesied that he would return in Britain's greatest time of need and to save them and re-establish peace and prosperity. But obviously it's a myth, but the myth may have been based on a Roman general, but I have never heard King Arthur be called Artorias. I know Artorias from Dark Souls, but that's it. I didn't know it was the Latin for Arthur, which the more you know. I like that this series is very tied into the folklore of Britain, and also the history is very apt and accurate so far. My headphones have decided to die, so I'm trying to like get them to reconnect so I can like finish the last couple of minutes of the series.
足元
確かか。
耳のやつはそう言ってるぜ。
ブリケイニオングの使いのものだ。出迎えご苦労。
What is it with the
面白い。
fringes?
グラティアヌス殿。
There's more.
気づいたか。
It's an
な
ambush.
ぜわかる？
部下に耳のよう
They're
な
here
も
to
のを置いて
betray. They're not actually here to be friends.
もう遅い。んどうしたトロフィー？
Thorfinn senses it. They said they were okay. They were going to be on their side and let them pass, but no. Oh shit. It's all ramping up, isn't it? He's gonna kick the bucket at any point, isn't he? He looks so, like, decrepit and old. Leif? Leif! Leif! Oh, he thinks it's... It's not Thorfinn. It just looks like Thorfinn. But he's still looking for him after all these years. He promised that he would return Thorfinn home. No, the horse! You bastards. Maybe Thorfinn will make Canute more strong. Teach him to have a bit of a backbone, that he can't have people doing everything for him and be mollycoddled, because yeah, he's very much refusing to allow himself to have a voice. He's kind of letting everyone do everything for him. He's just taking a back seat. He won't speak up for himself. And that's why when Asgard was like, that man doesn't have the face of a king, it's because he's very weak-willed. I think we could see that change. I think we could see him become more astute, more powerful with time. Maybe his friendship with Thorfinn is what gives him the courage to start speaking up. But what's the emotional distress? We still don't know about that. And the whole staring at the hawk and being like, Ragnar, catch it for me, when it was near impossible for it to be caught, is just a bit strange. It makes me wonder, is he like all there mentally? Is there maybe something cognitively wrong with him? Or maybe he's just very childlike because he's never been treated as an adult. Maybe he's finding it difficult. He could be thrust into this position before he was ready to be and is unprepared for what is expected of him. Because I think they mentioned it's a contestation between him and his brother for the throne, that they're both in line to inherit and become king, and there's a bit of tension there. So I think it could be that maybe, you know, his father died and he's been thrust into this position of authority that he was not prepared to take, and he's not used to being the one in charge because he's had everyone kind of do everything for him. And if he's the younger brother, which I presume he is, he maybe would be of the mindset that he would never inherit, so he's never had to step into that position. So it could just be that we see him come out of his shell a bit more with Thorfinn guarding him, maybe to become unlikely friends, and he finds himself trusting Thorfinn in a way that he doesn't quite trust others because they're the same age, so they may end up learning things about one another and maybe coming to admire one another. Maybe Thorfinn learns things from Canute, like how to be a bit more softer, how to have fun, because they're sort of the opposite ends of each other, you know. Thorfinn had a very hard time after his dad passed away. You know, he didn't get to go home. He had to become desensitized to violence, ended up getting absorbed into conflicts because it was the only way that he could survive. It was the only way that he could continue to push forward with his goal. Whereas we potentially have Canute as a pampered prince who maybe has been spoiled, had everything done for him, never had to sacrifice comfort for survival in the way that Thorfinn does. So it could be that Thorfinn learns to have fun and relax more around Canute, and Canute learns to be more strong-willed and to have an opinion and to realize that his voice is important in a way that he necessarily didn't know before. I'm wondering if Askeladd could be linked to the Welsh because he recognizes him as commander, says son of Lydia. So I'm wondering if potentially then his mom was Welsh because he has a connection there that's strong enough that they came to his aid when it requested, and he leveraged his mom's name and didn't leverage his dad's name. So that means his mom has the authority in this department that his father wouldn't. Her name has a weight behind it, a way to strike that connection. So yeah, I think potentially his mom could have been Welsh, and he obviously knows the commander. So he must have spent time in Wales, perhaps with his mother. But I don't think it's just down to we have a mutual reason for doing this. You know, we want the prince to recognize our independence and to not meddle in Wales's business, that England can do what it wants as long as it leaves Wales out of it. Wales wants to be its own country with its own culture, customs, and small individual kingdoms. It doesn't want to be dictated to by what it views as an enemy kingdom. And I mean, England has a horrible habit of taking over any country that is close to it and destroying their culture and customs and their language. They did it with Wales, they did it with Scotland, they did it with Ireland. It's a long history of occupation. It's not just the British Isles that they did it in either. It's all across the world, hence why they were the British Empire for a long time. A history of colonialism and occupation, but we're not getting into that today. But as well as them wanting England to not meddle, I think it has to be that Askeladd's name has some authority, and not necessarily his name, but his mum's, because son of Lydia. He went with son of Lydia instead of his father, because he usually refers to himself as son of, I forgot his father's name, but it's usually the father that he makes oaths and promises by. But when asking for aid from Wales, it's his mother's name. So it's very interesting. And this little ambush, how's that going to go down? Because that's not what they expected. It's not going to end well for the ones ambushing, because they don't know who they've come across. They don't know what they're walking into, a world of pain. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this react, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm. And until next episode, bye!